dribble, then shoots, wasting 23 seconds of the 24-second clock, and then misses. Love the Fever, but no. That's funny. That's funny. Cece's the GOAT. KM doesn't know how to pass the ball. Dribble, 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 dribble. As we say on this channel, it's where the ball goes to die.
Watch that body language. Watch Caitlin Clark's face as Stephanie White tries to explain why she changed the play. That's not confusion. That's not mild disappointment. That's the look of someone who just realized they can't trust their own coach in crunch time. And what makes this moment so significant is that it's not isolated. This is a pattern that's been building all season, game after game, broken promise after broken promise. The Indiana Fever just pulled off back-to-back wins, but beneath the surface, there's a fracture forming that could define this franchise's future.
Right here, and I can tell you, and I don't know if a lot of people have taken the time to actually zero in on Caitlin Clark and Steph White here after this play got blown. But this was, they're about to make it a 98-94 game. Caitlin Clark comes back in. You're thinking to yourself, you're obviously going to go to Caitlin Clark, right? Because for the second game in a row, there's no way you're not going to the best player on your team, right?
We're going to walk out of this gym, right? See that Caitlin Clark has lost all faith in Stephanie White and her play.
Here's what actually happened in that sequence. The Fever are down 4 points with under a minute left. Caitlin Clark checks back into the game, and according to her own reaction, she was told exactly what play they were running. She's coming off a screen, getting 2 free throws. They're walking out of that gym with a win. Simple, right? Except Stephanie White called a timeout and completely changed the play. Instead of going to their best player in the biggest moment of the game, they tried to get cute and feed Kelsey Mitchell. The pass gets dropped, the play falls apart, and Caitlin's standing there with her hands up like what just happened. But here's the part that should concern every Fever fan. This isn't the first time.
She's going to muster up some words and try to explain why she changed the play to get Kelsey Mitchell the.
Why you look so venomous? That's what I want to know. Why does it look like they're... And I brought this when they were going at it on the sideline a couple of weeks ago. Why do you look like you hate
why
her
she
so
changed the
much?
play to get Kelsey Mitchell the ball. Caitlin Clark, look at her face. She's lost all hope, all faith in Stephanie White. She said no. You know the play. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Look at Stephanie White's face as she's trying to explain herself. Why does she look so intense, so almost defensive about getting Kelsey Mitchell the ball? Why is there this pattern of play calls that seem designed to force-feed Mitchell opportunities, even when it doesn't make basketball sense? Caitlin Clark is shooting better, scoring more efficiently, and she's the player defenses are actually worried about. Yet in critical moments, we keep seeing these decisions that prioritize getting Mitchell her numbers over winning the game the smartest way possible. And Caitlin knows it. You can see it in her reaction. She's lost faith in those play calls. When your franchise player stops believing you'll actually run the play you just told her you'd run, that's a relationship that's fundamentally broken.
It's in the game where you can tell, ooh, that relationship is broken and fractured. We've seen this with players in the past in the NBA. Next thing you know, player wants out of town. I'm just pointing it out. Kyrie, Kawhi. I mean, we've seen it over time, where players were like, "Nah, this ain't it. This ain't gonna happen." Tell me what you think.
Now let's talk about what this looks like from the outside. We've seen this movie before in the NBA. Kyrie Irving in Cleveland before he demanded out. Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio when the trust evaporated between him and the organization. It always starts the same way. Small moments of visible frustration. Body language that doesn't match the public statements. Teammates and coaches saying everything's fine while the cameras capture something completely different. The Fever are winning games right now, so it's easy to brush this off as overreaction. But winning can mask dysfunction for only so long. Eventually these moments accumulate. Eventually a player looks around and thinks, this isn't it. This isn't going to work long term.
For the All-Star team, And some folks might hate my guts if they knew who I voted for instead of Kelsey Mitchell. But I try to tell you guys, I don't believe in agendas. I hate them. I loathe them. I don't like blackballing either. I'm not going to name the player. All I'm going to say is the player I voted for is scoring almost 16 points a game in 18 minutes.
And speaking of patterns that should concern people, let's address the elephant in the room that the Fever keep trying to hide. The injury report for today's game lists Caitlin Clark as probable, with some vague designation. Continuing this charade where they pretend to give us accurate health information while actually using it as cover for load management. They're lying to fans. Just call it what it is. But here's what's interesting. Aaliyah Boston is also listed as probable with a right elbow injury. An elbow injury that apparently healed at record speed because she was boarding the plane with no wrap, no gauze, no warm towel, hands in the air with a big smile. No visible sign of any injury whatsoever. So either Joel Osteen performed a miracle healing, or we all know what actually happened here. The explanations don't match what we're seeing with our own eyes.
Look much better with the explanation yesterday. Look, so we got you. We got you. Okay, we know what's going on here. We got you. So, in case you guys did not know this, the Indiana Fever voting is going down right now for the All-Star team. And some folks might hate my guts if they knew who I voted for instead of Kelsey Mitchell.
Let's shift to something that reveals exactly how Fever fans actually feel about these rotation decisions. The team posted a campaign trying to get people to vote Kelsey Mitchell into the All-Star game. And the responses were absolutely brutal. Fans flooding the comments with jokes about how she dribbles for 23 seconds and then misses. Memes about having time to go to the fridge, grab a beer, and come back while she's still dribbling. Comments saying Caitlin's the GOAT, Kelsey doesn't know how to pass the ball. This is the Fever's own fan base. These aren't haters from other teams. These are people who want Indiana to succeed, and they're openly mocking the idea of Mitchell as an all-star because they watch every game and see what actually happens on the court.
It's shooting 62.5% from the field. Now, in case you don't know, Kelsey Mitchell's shooting 45% from the field. She's scoring 20 points in a whole lot of minutes with a whole lot of shots. The player I voted for is a hell of a lot more efficient. I voted for Kennedy Carter. There, I put it out there. I also voted for Natasha Howard, who's playing at damn near an MVP level now that she's away from Stephanie White and with a real coach. I voted for Olivia Miles, who's an absolute dog, a killer out there. No agendas here. I voted for Caitlin Clark, and that was the only Indiana Fever player I voted for. Aaliyah Boston did not get my vote, by the way. Sorry, not sorry. No apologies here.
Now here's where it gets personal for me, because I actually voted in the All-Star balloting, and some Fever fans are going to hate this. I didn't vote for Kelsey Mitchell. I voted for Kennedy Carter instead. And before anyone loses their mind, let me explain why with actual numbers. Kennedy Carter is scoring nearly 16 points per game in only 18 minutes of playing time. She's shooting 62.5% from the field. Kelsey Mitchell is shooting 45% from the field while taking significantly more shots to get her 20 points. When you look at efficiency, when you look at points per minute, when you look at shooting percentage, Carter is objectively having a better season. She's doing more with less. I also voted for Natasha Howard, who's playing at an MVP level now that she's away from Stephanie White and actually has a competent coach. I voted for Olivia Miles, who's an absolute dog on the court. I voted for Caitlin Clark, obviously. But Aaliyah Boston didn't get my vote either. No agendas here, no loyalty votes. I voted for the players who are actually performing at an all-star level based on what they're producing on the court, not based on narrative or favoritism or who the coach wants to showcase.
Nope. Nope. X Griffin. Nope. Nah. Nah. Nope. That pass. We got something different there. Pass. I love her. I actually shared this one. I love her. When she gets the ball, I can go to the fridge and get back, get a beer, knowing that she will still be dribbling when I get back. That's funny. That's good. I'm guessing this could be a, how about no? How about new? New? Spark? Or like this?
And this brings us to the core issue that keeps surfacing with Stephanie White's coaching decisions. There seems to be a predetermined agenda about who gets featured regardless of what the game situation demands. Look at those fan comments again. When she gets the ball, I can go to the fridge and get a beer, knowing that she will still be dribbling when I get back. That's not just a funny joke. That's fans recognizing a real pattern of play that actively hurts the team's offensive flow. Or this one, dribble, dribble, then shoots, wasting 23 seconds of the 24-second clock and then misses. That's a specific observation about shot clock management and efficiency. These fans are watching closely enough to notice that possessions are being wasted, that the offense stagnates, that better options are being ignored in favor of forcing the ball to a player who's not making the most of those opportunities. When your own fan base is this unified in their criticism, it's not about hating a player, it's about recognizing that the coaching decisions don't match what winning basketball looks like. Here's what makes the Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White dynamic so fascinating and so troubling at the same time. We're now at a point where this type of visible frustration is happening on a game-in, game-out basis. It's not an isolated incident anymore. Every single game, there are multiple moments where you can see the trust breaking down in real time. Moments where Caitlin's body language screams that she doesn't believe what she's being told. Moments where the play call doesn't match the game situation, and everyone in the arena can see it except apparently the coaching staff. This is how player-coach relationships deteriorate in professional sports. It doesn't happen all at once with one big blow-up. It's a slow erosion, a promise broken here, a questionable decision there, a pattern of prioritizing the wrong things that accumulates over weeks and months until the player just mentally checks out on trusting that coach's judgment. Think about what we know happened in that crucial possession. Caitlin was told they'd run one play. She checked in expecting that play. The timeout gets called, the play gets changed to feature someone else, and the possession fails. That's not just bad coaching. That's lying to your best player about what you're going to do in the most important moment of the game. How do you come back from that? How does Caitlin ever fully trust a play call again when she knows it might get changed at the last second to feed someone else's stats? And before anyone says I'm reading too much into a facial expression, remember that Caitlin Clark is a competitor who spent her entire basketball career with elite coaching. She played for Lisa Bluder at Iowa, one of the most respected coaches in women's basketball. She knows what good coaching looks like. She knows what it feels like when a coach has your back and makes decisions based on winning rather than personal agendas. The contrast between what she experienced in college and what she's experiencing now has to be jarring. Look at the timeline of Stephanie White's decisions this season. The rotation choices that don't make sense. The late-game play calls that ignore the hot hand. The public comments that seem designed to deflect criticism rather than address real issues. The injury report games that insult fans' intelligence. All of it points to a coach who's more concerned with controlling narratives and protecting certain players than with maximizing the team's potential. And here's the thing about Kelsey Mitchell specifically. She's a good player. Nobody's saying she's not talented. But there's a difference between being a good player and being someone who should get the ball in crunch time over Caitlin Clark. There's a difference between earning your role through performance and being handed opportunities because the coach has decided you're going to get them regardless of circumstances. Fever fans see that difference. Caitlin clearly sees that difference. The only people who seem to not see it are the ones making the decisions. What happens next is the real question. The Fever are winning games, which buys Stephanie White time and cover. But this isn't sustainable. You cannot build a championship culture when your best player doesn't trust your decision-making in crucial moments. You cannot maximize a generational talent when you're running plays designed to get other players their stats instead of running the offense through your most efficient scorer. You cannot maintain team chemistry when the fan base is openly mocking your coaching decisions and your star player is visibly frustrated multiple times per game. So where does this end? Either Stephanie White adjusts her approach and starts making decisions based purely on what gives the Fever the best chance to win, or this relationship continues to fracture until something breaks. Maybe Caitlin requests a trade, maybe White gets fired, maybe they muddle through with this underlying tension for years, never quite reaching their potential because the foundation of trust isn't there. None of those outcomes are good for Indiana. The saddest part is that this was completely avoidable. The Fever have incredible talent. Caitlin Clark is exactly the kind of franchise player you build around for a decade. Aaliyah Boston has all-star potential. The pieces are there for something special. But coaching matters, trust matters, making smart decisions in big moments matters. And right now, all the evidence suggests that those elements are missing. Pay attention to Caitlin's body language in the next few games. Watch how she reacts to play calls. Watch her interactions with Stephanie White during timeouts. Watch whether that visible frustration continues or whether something changes. Because if this pattern continues, we're watching the early stages of a relationship breakdown that could define the trajectory of this entire franchise. And that would be a tragedy, because the talent is there to do something special if they can just get the coaching right.